Okay, I think we are started. So, welcome to the interest meeting for the UW Pre-Physician Scientists Club. We'll go over a little bit about how we're getting this thing started. So first, I want to introduce people. So real quick, name, school, and major or intended major. And what is one thing you learned during the quarantine shutdown? I could start off real quick. So I'm Daniel Brock. I went to the University of Washington and got a BS in biochemistry back in 2019. And right now I'm at the NIH doing some gap years where I'm studying genetics and aging in the retina. And we could go alphabetical. Who's next? So real quick introduction, we're going to go over what a physician scientist actually is. Um, they're defined by physicians who devote regular components of their time seeking new knowledge about health, disease, and patient care through research. So these are doctors who are also participating significantly in research. And there are multiple paths to becoming a physician scientist. I often get the question of if it's necessary to do the MD PhD route, and that definitely is an option. But several people do the MD route. In fact, it's much more common to do the MD route. However, what you choose to do after the MD, do you want to pursue research? Do you want to do a PhD? You can do a postdoc after MD, all on your way to become a physician scientist. A quick distinction here is that if you decide to do a PhD and you don't decide to do an MD, you're not technically considered a physician scientist because you don't treat patients, but you could still do clinical research and you could still participate in a lot of the clinical trials. You're just not going to be having direct patient contact because you're going to need medical training for that. And I'm glad that we have like a diversity of majors here. It sounds like some bioengineers, some biology, biochemistry. In the green is the most common for physician scientists. So you can see biochemistry, bioengineering. I think that's biotechnology right here. And also a bunch of others like neuroscience. Next up is something that I wanted to talk about. The first step to making this club official is making an RSO. I'll send out this PowerPoint, but here's the link to it, and we'll go over the steps to having a registered RSO. Let me zoom in. First, we need an idea. I think we have that pretty established. The second step is at least 5 members. From this Zoom meeting alone, we have 15, so that's good. And I'm assuming that at least 5 of you are willing to become administrators for this group, because that's what we're going to need, 5 current students. Next, we're going to have to attend an RSO registration session. And we have to do this in between now and October 31st. I think that's the cutoff. They offer like weekly or maybe twice a week information sessions about how to make an RSO. And one of you, maybe like a club president, could attend this. I don't think I personally could make an RSO because I'm not a student anymore. Next, we have to create a group account. Again, this is for people who are like the club presidents, and they make a constitution for the club. And then we get it approved. And eventually, once we're in RSO, and we've been going for a while, we could eventually register to be a part of the American Physician Scientist Association, or APSA, as I'll be calling it. And if we do this, we could get a lot of credibility. Like you could go to conferences, you could go to, you could get research scholarships, you could get one-on-one mentoring by current physician scientists. Really, if you register with APSA, you get a lot of benefits. And I could send you an example of a physician scientist club that does that. There's one at Florida that inspired me to make this club. And they have a pretty established program that is recognized by APSA. And they get to go to conferences, they get funding. It's pretty impressive. Next up, leadership positions. So for prereqs, the main things that I'm looking for is you're passionate about science and medicine, you're creative and motivated. And right here is the link that I shared in the Facebook group. It's a Google Doc. Let me pull that up real quick. It's not in the PowerPoint. But I have different positions. Hopefully you can read this. So co-presidents. I decided to make it a group of 3 undergrads and get rid of the vice president position because let's be real, who the heck knows what a vice president does? No one knows. So these are going to be the creative, ambitious people with lots of ideas and goals. They'll be responsible for like overarching the club's status as an RSO and the overall goal of the club. And eventually to get it APSA certified. You have to be an APSA member to do that. And I assume that I'm the only APSA member right now, so I could help out with that. We could go over who wants to be this once I get done presenting the leadership position role. Alumni president, this will be me. It's kind of like similar function to the co-presidents, but I'm an alumni. And I just help out with similar activities and added benefit that I've been through UW, and I could give some advice about that. So alumni leaders. There are a few people, I don't think they're in this this meeting right now because they're studying for the MCAT. Shout out if you need to do that. And their goal is to advise undergrads about research and clinical opportunities at UW. General advice because they've been through undergrad. We have our School of Medicine liaison. This is a current medical student. There are 2 people in this club right now that are current medical students. And we could introduce you to them eventually. That's up to them whether they want to join or not, because I know they're busy. We could have a graduate school liaison, so someone who's doing their PhD in like in a biomedical field. We could have a residency liaison, so someone who's been through medical school, has lots of knowledge about physician scientist careers. And eventually we're going to need a treasurer. This is someone who manages the club's money supplies. This isn't the most important thing at the moment because we don't got no money. But once we get registered with APSA, if that ever happens, we're going to need someone responsible for finances. And one day we might be able to like make our own t-shirts and host in-person events with food and rent spaces. This is where we're really going to need a treasurer. The secretary is basically just a club historian. So you keep a record of all the planned events, dates, and deadlines and make sure everyone is on task. You coordinate between different leadership positions. The next 2 positions, the outreach chair and social chair, could kind of do similar things. Outreach is more focused on reaching out to new students in the WWAMI, Pacific Northwest area. And your job is to establish connections with other clubs and medical schools to promote this. Social chair, we're going to need someone who's social media savvy. I'm not the most. I don't have Snapchat or anything like that. But we need someone who's social media savvy and who's in charge of creating and maintaining the club's presence on social media. Journal club. I really like this idea. So you're responsible for managing I'm getting text from my mom. Ignore that. Journal club chair is responsible for managing the club's roles in terms of research presentations. This could occur bi-weekly. Like we'll get together for a discussion about COVID. That's what I really want to do. Or any other interesting research topics. And we could rotate speakers on a volunteer basis. There's the volunteer coordinator, which is responsible for finding volunteer opportunities and sharing them with the rest of the club. I know UW Medical Center and Fred Hutch have lots of volunteer opportunities normally. Right now, not too much because of COVID, but eventually they're going to have a lot of volunteer opportunities. Graphics designer. So right now that's me. I've made this logo, but if anyone here is savvy with Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator, you could create visuals for this club and coordinate with other leaders to get the visuals seen on social media and stuff. If you have any other leadership positions that you think might be helpful, let me know. So now we could take a role of who wants to be what. If you think something is a good fit, really it's like first come, first serve. So please speak up if any of this interests you.
I'm really interested in secretary, the position of secretary, because I think I'm really good at managing like time and like emailing people if I have to.
Got it?
I'm pretty interested in social media chair, or whatever the name is. I think I have a pretty good grasp of how to communicate for people. I've been a social media person for a startup before. A little bit of experience.
All right.
I'm kind of interested in treasurer because in high school I was the Key Cup treasurer, so I did a lot of like fundraising for a lot of local nonprofits and managing like club dues and paying like finances.
I'm also interested in journal club chair. I could also help if nobody has, or we can't find like a volunteer coordinator. I also did a lot of volunteering work and secretarial work with HOSA, so I think that would be a lot to offer.
I'm also interested in like either the social outreach or, I mean, no one's really said like the co-president. I did my fair share of leadership in high school for all 4 years. So I've done a bunch of event planning and fundraising and coordinating. So that'd be super fun to do with 2 other people too.
I'm interested in.
Hold up, I'm losing track here. Silvana, did you say you were interested in being a co-president?
Yeah, that one, and I think the social outreach one too seems interesting.
Outreach,
yeah.
all right.
I'm interested in being co-president. I also have leadership experience, and yeah, I've also dealt with like outside organizations like similar to the APSA.
Absolutely. Okay.
I'm interested
I think
co-president. Sorry.
Who is talking first, Erica or Giovanni?
I was going to say that I'm also interested in being a co-president. I've had leadership experience in high school, and I'll be here for another 4 years, so I can really help the club grow, I feel like.
We could have 4 co-presidents. That's fine. So Erica and Shivani.
I'm also interested in being co-president. I have experience being an officer for UW Hiking Club, so I have kind of experience dealing with like UW RSO stuff, so that might help. Yeah.
All right. So ironically, this might work out because for creating an RSO, you need 5 people, and we have 5 right now. I'm a little bit hesitant to go more than that because not everyone can be a co-president. Eventually, you're just going to have everyone in the club being a co-president. So if you wanted to be a co-president, let me know. Maybe we could find a role for you. But we still have some other roles that we could share. If anyone wants to be
Yeah, could Can I do the outreach chair since I think she also wanted to be co-president? So I think like both of us could do that.
Outreach, so
Yeah.
Or maybe it would be easier if we could like go down the list of positions and then people who are like interested can kind of speak up.
That's a good idea. I should have done that.
I was wondering if we should add another leadership position for like event planning or like programming stuff. Because like right now I don't see like if like I like although it's not like necessary for the moment, but like if we have to host events and like someone have to do like um kind of like host the event on a place to kind of like have a place for the meeting and like all those stuff. I think that might be a good idea if you have like someone especially like focus on that.
We could also mash that with like secretary and have like a couple people doing that like collaboratively.
Yeah, that sounded similar to secretary, planning events. So Vicky, do you want to be a secretary, or do you want to like define your own role?
I already got a position so far for like co-president. I was just like suggesting if like anyone wants some extra leadership experience, I guess.
I could probably also do a little bit of that as well.
Secretary.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering, there's like an application process for like these positions to like check our qualifications.
I'm sorry, I'm losing track here. What did you say, Brandon?
So I was wondering if there's like an application process to like see our qualifications, like our ideas for the club.
Oh boy.
Like how we can help it grow. Because since like you know like how there's a lot of people running for like one position. So like co-president, you said there were 3, but now like there's 5.
Yeah.
I was wondering if like they would like it's like election, like an election process.
Oh, yeah, eventually we're going to need an election process, assuming that this club goes on for another year or more. So eventually we're going to need someone to coordinate elections. Elections manager? Something like that? All right. I like that suggestion because that makes this club future-proof. Because we're not going to be able to just randomly assign positions once this club gets started. We're going to have an election process, try to be a democracy.
Actually, on the topic of like future classes, like what class what class is everybody in right now? Like sophomore, junior, like that?
Are you asking for like specific like course numbers, like biochemistry?
No, like who here is like a junior, sophomore, senior, like that?
Oh yeah. I think we went over that in the introductions, but one thing that I don't want to do is prioritize people based on their year. Really, it's about your ideas and what you do for this club. But there are some like co-president and maybe like graphics designer, you might need some prereqs. It sounds like our co-presidents have previous leadership experience in like high school and stuff or in other clubs.
I also think it might be helpful to, or like have everybody put like an email or something so that people who are in the same leadership groups can contact each other and kind of like work together.
All right.
I think I can just make a like a Google Doc, like a Google form, and have like everyone fill it in a club. And we can kind of like come up with a spreadsheet that has everyone's contact info in it.
And I just have one thing to add. I'm wondering if the best way to communicate with the group is to keep it on Facebook or maybe toss it over to GroupMe, because I know that's what a lot of like RSOs use around UW. So that might be a good way just to keep in constant contact so you don't have to constantly go onto Facebook.
That's a good point. So eventually we're going to want to expand onto different platforms. one of the things that I thought of is Instagram, and creating a group me is a great idea.
Do you have any like current goals or like end dates that you want some of these leadership positions to have? Like, for example, like when do you want the social chair to make like an Instagram, or when do you want us to have that email spreadsheet done by?
Ideally, before we register as an RSO. And from my presentation, or I could send you the link, it's in this PowerPoint. The deadline to submit for an RSO is October 31st. So that gives us a little over a month. I think it's plenty of time to get going. But the co-presidents are mainly going to be organizing the RSO, but like the social chair and everyone can get together to make it more cohesive. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, cool. Any other ideas? Something that that gets back to your question. Journal club chair. So Deborah, I have a presentation that I actually presented at another pre-physician scientist club. It was about like the origins of COVID. Something else that I wanted to focus on was like maybe like a health disparities leader, because in healthcare that's becoming an increasingly important thing to look at. Health disparities between different groups of people. Someone like, it doesn't sound like we have a public health person in this room, which is problematic because public health people really excel at this.
I think someone might have been a public health major.
I don't remember.
I'm not sure. I thought I heard. Okay, maybe not.
Yeah, I think so. I heard someone say that.
Yeah.
Public health too. Yeah.
I have
Okay, correct me.
global health. I don't know if that's similar.
I don't know either.
Sure. Yeah, now I'm confused.
Yeah,
it's okay.
It's okay, but the journal club, we could start that off in like 2 weeks. I could start with the presentation. One thing that I wanted to do is whoever is in charge of this, maybe like outreach, maybe like probably the secretaries, create like a poll of what is a good time for people to meet. Because I know people have classes. I work full time. So let's create like a poll that looks at people's time availability.
Okay, sounds good.
Any other ideas? I think our Zoom meeting gets out here pretty soon.
I was thinking just to like maybe start a I don't know, like a group me or something. Everyone could just enter their, I guess, phone numbers right in the chat, and then it would be easy to just create one real quick.
Yep, group me is definitely on the list if you want to do that. You could announce that in the Facebook group because that's the only thing we have right now.
Yeah.
Questions, future ideas, I think we've covered that. Anything else before we head out? I think this gets out in 3 minutes at 5:40.
I have a quick question, but it's not very necessary, so I don't know how much of a contribution it will be, considering you have 1 minute. I might ask this later, but I was just wondering what kind of incited you to start this? And you might be cut off, sorry.
What encouraged me to start this? Okay, so this is a good question. So I was going through the undergrad process just like you, and I was getting mixed results about should I be a physician scientist. Some people said go for it. Some people said, oh, it's not worth it. It's too long. It's weird. It's not coordinated, which is wrong. So I was hearing a lot of mixed advice in undergrad. But once I came to the NIH, where they have dedicated people like responsible for managing physician scientists, I started hearing lots of good advice, and you'll definitely see a lot of that advice coming through if I ever talk about it. Um,